everyone, and welcome to the Red Corner Show. I am Dr. Shamila Ramjawan, a global award-winning entrepreneur, published author, educator, founder of the Princess D Menstrual Cup, the Red Corner Show, and the Olympus International Awards South Africa. It is a pleasure to be your host today as we bring you inspiring conversations this Women's Month in South Africa. We are celebrating women who are breaking barriers, leading with purpose, and inspiring future generations. I am interviewing visionary women from diverse industries, sharing their journeys of resilience, leadership, and success to inspire and empower viewers everywhere. Let's welcome my guest today, Nyasha P. An executive coach, author, leadership strategist, and founder of Bateleur Group. With over 15 years of experience in financial services and organizational transformation, she works with senior leaders navigating career crossroads, leadership challenges, and organizational transitions. She's the author of Pivot or Push Through, leading career conversations at senior levels, and is currently a doctoral researcher at Warwick Business School. Through her coaching, writing, and speaking, Nyasha P. equips leaders with practical frameworks to make courageous, strategic, and informed decisions about their careers and leadership journeys. Welcome, Nyasha P.
Wow, look, I thought, this smile, I can keep it because, wow, I was like, whoa, who's that? Thank you very much. Thank you very much for inviting me to the Red Corner Show and talking about resilience, you said. Women, and you, as you said, an award-winning entrepreneur. I'm a writerpreneur, with Pivot or Push Through, but thank you so much. I'm really excited to have this conversation with your guests. I hope I leave a little mark of Nyasha P. in this Red Corner Show.
I'm sure you're going to. So before we start and get right into it, I want you to tell the viewers a little about yourself, starting with Nyasha P. your journey, and what led you to become an executive coach, author, and leadership strategist.
Wow. Okay, I'll start with the long but short story. So I believe names have meaning. I don't know what your name means, Shamila, but Nyasha is a lot of grace, some mercy, and a lot of kind-heartedness. So it was my mother's intention. She said she didn't think of a name before I was born. She was given to, I was given to her, and the name Nyasha came. So I am Nyasha, and I do bring a lot of grace, a lot of mercy, and kind-heartedness. The P. It was also my mom's intention that I have a second name that starts with the P. So I put the dot so that it ends there. Nyasha P. In terms of my journey, wow. I guess my book, Pivot or Push Through, kind of is it's a place or a book that has been testament to how my life has evolved. I've pivoted and pushed through. From an education perspective, I started off as a doctoral student. I was there for a year, and then I felt that maybe that wasn't the right thing for me. So you will know, or you will hear from me, that it is very important that I find my place in life where I feel like myself. So that was the first time I had to go against the tide. I found myself in an equally lucrative career, actuarial science, and I worked in there for 15 years, right? And then the thing I ran away from, doctors heal people. I needed to heal somebody, so I had to pivot again. But this time, in terms of how I found myself in executive coaching, I call myself a doctor of the Martin Luther Kings of business, the comrades runners, the ones who want to take on the world, who want to leave a mark, who find resilience in their own story, in their own names, and in their own persons. I would say I've always been an executive coach or a coach, an EMA coach, but you need to find a profession, right? So I think in the corporate world, we're called executive coaches.
Mhm.
But as I said, I'm mercy, grace, kind-heartedness. So the strategy must come in there, right? A corporates needs a lot of mercy when you are doing strategy implementation there. And then the kind-heartedness, it's this, and it's sharing myself through my book, through conversations such as the one we're having today at the Red Corner Show. That's
Absolutely,
me.
absolutely love it. It's always fascinating to understand the journey behind the work. And I think our viewers will appreciate knowing what shaped your perspective as a leader and a coach. And yes, definitely the business environment needs you.
Mercy, you say.
Absolutely. So you work with senior leaders who are facing high stakes career decisions and organizational transitions. That's the norm these days. What are some of the biggest challenges leaders face when they reach a career crossroad?
It's just knowing who they are and what they are there for, finding their compass, their self. Because if you know who you are, then you know what you are, and then you can do anything. So you said that's the norm these days. But I
Mhm.
mean, with leaders, they also have their shoulders quite heavy. They're carrying the future, the current, and also the past. And that can also be a challenge. So, what I do find is a lot of people are wrestling with themselves, trying to figure themselves out. Because fortunately, they do know. If they know who they are and they know why they're here, then the rest is figured out. So, I would say the greatest challenge right now is finding space and time and room to just pause and find your inner compass, your purpose, and then you can live it. That's what I would say would be the biggest challenge.
Now, you work directly with these leaders. Do you find that it's quite often that they find themselves, or what do you see in them, or how do you bring that out in them for them to see their worth and see the path that they are actually following?
Well, I guess maybe let's talk Women's Month, right? Because it was Women's Day yesterday. Happy
Mhm.
Women's Day to
Happy
all the
Women's
South
Day
Africans.
in Miss South Africa, by the way. I missed the
Yes.
holiday.
Yeah, oh look, today is holidays for those who are not entrepreneurs. For
Mhm.
entrepreneurs, 24/7 is working day. In terms of do they find themselves? Here's what I do know. If your shoulders are heavy, meaning you have a responsibility, and you also have got the consciousness and the resilience, right? And resilience is built, then you will eventually find yourself. I would say the fortunate ones are the ones who have a space, and an executive coach creates that space where a person can sit, pause, hear themselves think, talk,
Yes.
feel. And I believe without any, there is no other way except to have that space, that pause, so that you can figure yourself out, especially nowadays in a world which is very noisy. And the noise comes from the changes, rapid change. We've got AI, we have geopolitical things happening, we have, health. There's a lot of things happening. And when you're a leader and a lot of things are happening, it also means there are lots of monkeys that are being left on your table. So you kind of always have to juggle these monkeys and deal with them. And you always think, look, once I take care of all the monkeys, then I can get to myself. But I've heard some people say, you cannot empty from a what? You cannot feed from an empty cup. Yes.
Yes.
So yeah, so yeah, they wrestle to find the moment, but I do see increasingly women, and a platform like this is a testament to that, where women are saying, I want to sit and pause. And I do hope you're sitting in a very nice, comfortable seat while you're listening to us having a conversation here. But I also hope whatever we are going to talk about, it is going to spark something, something in yourself that steadies you, because you can only understand who you are when you're regulated, when you're steady and you're grounded. So, do many, 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 many women do that? I would say we're doing much better. But we all need that space, and sometimes life's just going too fast.
For sure. You know, we often see the success of senior leaders, but we don't always see the uncertainty and pressure behind those positions. And I just want to ask you, are you coaching more female leaders? Is it on par with male and female, or just female, or just male?
So I coach the comrades runners of business. I coach people with a conviction that they want to leave a mark that is beyond just their profession, beyond their country, their continents. There are people who are obsessed with seeing the world change. So who are those people? Increasingly, women have got a burning fire, but I coach both men and women.
Great. Love it. Now, tell me about your book, Pivot or Push Through, Leading Career Conversations at Senior Levels. How can someone recognize the difference between a temporary period of difficulty and a genuine signal that it is time to pivot?
Look, I think one thing I want to be very clear, a pivot or push through moment is a moment where something must happen. It's not pushing, it's pushing through or pivoting. So some people call them inflection points, some people call them moments of transformation. So why I wrote this book is because I myself have come to those moments. And I believe, as you said, with the pace the world is going, a lot of us, either as individuals, as leaders, as countries, and even as people, we are in a moment, a very decisive moment, where we must do pushing through or pivoting. And I want to say something. It's okay to push through or to pivot. But the first step is exactly what I did say. Pause. Recognize you are in a moment. The stakes are really high. If you pivot when you should push through, what does that look like? You've been working in an organization. You are now the acting CEO, and you've been acting for a year or maybe 6 months. And then you get to that moment where you're feeling restless. If you do not have the conversation or allow yourself to regulate and have the conversation, you may leave, but you leave too early. Similarly, pushing through when you should pivot, you end up with a bloody nose. So what's more important is really not the outcome. It is first realizing this is a critical moment and you need to first sit with yourself. So the first step is what I call care. And you can imagine it's about you, the four fingers, sitting with yourself, asking yourself, what makes me happy? Not what makes me think I'm happy. You look at yourself in the mirror when you're doing certain things. And mirrors, for example, coaches are mirrors. Because when you're talking about specific projects or specific careers, they'll be like, there's a lot of energy there. So you need to spend a lot of time with mirrors so that you can understand who you are. Hear what makes you happy. What is it that gives you or that plagues you also? I read a book. I think Michelle Obama says one day she was sleeping, she woke up and she found Barack Obama lying on the bed and looking up. And then she says, wow, what are you thinking about? And he said, I'm just trying to think how to give everybody affordable accommodation. Now you know what your purpose is.
Yes, I like that you mentioned that, the pause and reflect. And that is something that we should do very often. You know, sometimes we're ready to walk away when we simply need to navigate a difficult season. And then sometimes we stay too long because we're afraid to make the change.
And that's why sitting is important, right?
Yes.
I say you must regulate before you negotiate. Sit. And do you know what the most interesting thing? Sitting is the most difficult thing in a pivot or push through moment. I joke with people, maybe that's why board of directors are paid sitting fees.
Yes.
Because sitting is very difficult, right? But you cannot quieten down the external noise if you do not manage to find that moment, that internal space within yourself. So that's the first step. And in that step, you figure out, who is Nyasha P. Dot. So in my coming to say my name is Nyasha P. Dot, I've sat numerous times with myself, with my mother, with my friends to understand who am I. I know that I've got a lot of mercy. I know that I have got a lot of kind-heartedness, and I do know that I have a lot of grace. So anything else I then do, whether, I dropped out of medicine, I could have practiced that. But as a coach, you have to do equally that. So can you see when you have spent enough time and you know who you are, then it's very easy to then figure yourself out. What do I do? Right? So the second step is then the alignment. Alignment means for me, when I left medicine to go to actuarial science, I felt that I wasn't going to be able to care for the people that I needed to care for. Why? Because I feel too much, right? And medicine is clinical, but there was also some homework I now have come to do, because sometimes you run away from a place because you need to go and experience something else so that you can understand why you were at the starting point. Meaning, every step of the journey has got keen lessons that you need to do now. So now I can empathize, not sympathize, because that's what I used to do, feel for people
Yes.
instead of holding space for a person to do their work, right? So alignment is then finding, where is my space in the world? So then you figure things out, you ask questions, you go for interviews. If you're already in an organization, you see, where's the organization going? Is it aligned to who I am? If the answer is yes, and you feel that you need to move to the next step, then what do you think is the third step? Ask. Have the conversation. And I've found for a lot of people, the conversations that they can't confront are the conversations that they have with themselves, or the conversations that they need to have themselves. Because if you are not clear about what you want, your answers, then it's very difficult to ask Dr. Shamila for anything else. So, care, regulate before you negotiate, align, and then ask. If you do not ask, you do not get. You will be amazed that, especially women, you think, oh, but he knows or she knows I want to be promoted. That's not true. Some people are comfortable. So ask. And if the answer is no, then it doesn't really mean you need to leave there and then. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
So the answer can be no, right? But then you go back. Sometimes it's about timing. So maybe you've just, your health is failing, maybe, and your world is upside down. And they said no, but the no makes sense. Then it's
Just
okay.
time. Yes.
Then wait, right? But the classic one is not yet. I have two sons. One is 3 and the other one is 5. So they are very, very persistent. And the only answer that they want is not no. So I say tomorrow. And then tomorrow I say tomorrow. Meaning,
So,
me,
mommies and daddies out there, adopt that tomorrow. Yeah.
yes, but in an adult sense, if you have done the work, you know what you're about, you can see there's alignment, and they say not yet, but they're not giving you any firm timeline, or they're not telling you exactly what you should do. So you go ask, they say tomorrow, and then the second tomorrow, and then the third tomorrow. Then you are pushing through in a pivot moment.
That is so
Yeah,
powerful. Thank you for that. And I'm
no,
sure
it's a pleasure.
our audience is they're going to take away a lot of little nuggets from that. Now, you introduced the concept of personal board of directors. What exactly is a personal board of directors? And why do you believe every senior leader needs one?
You're going to get me into trouble because that's the book that I'm just finishing off. But let me tell you this. We all already have a personal board of directors. We just don't know it. It's those voices that make the decision before we make the decision. And because we haven't sat long enough to figure ourselves out, people will say, I lead myself. I am self-taught. Are you?
Are you really? Yes.
Right? So a personal board of directors, for me, it is now the same process of being deliberate, spending the time is look around whose voices are giving you direction, especially if you're a leader. You're a corporate leader.
Mhm.
Every single listed company, for example, needs to have a board. Why? But then interestingly, people don't know who is on their board. They don't even have a formal board of directors. So everybody has a personal board of directors. Everyone has. But if you don't know, or if you think you don't have, then you really, really have those voices who are taking up space, giving you, can I say, a sense of direction. But you are the chair of this board. Imagine you are sitting within the chair, but you do not know that you're being directed. So, yeah, I really honestly think it is the one thing, if a leader can do one thing, is sit and spend time and say, I call it the rent-free question. Who is living rent-free in your life? Making calls, occupying space, which you should be occupying, which you should be earning investments and income, but they are living rent-free. But guess what?
Find out.
When you have a person who is staying in your house rent-free, what does that mean? They're never going to live. Why would
Yes.
they?
Why would they? It's so comfortable and convenient and easy, right? You're not paying anything. So,
That's it. That's it.
and
So yeah, so that's my upcoming book. It's uh, formalizing this thing because why would leaders who run conglomerates know that they need a board, but they themselves don't have a board? That question alone puzzles me because the leader leads from self. So how can they govern an organization when they themselves aren't governed? I
now,
don't know.
yes. So we were looking forward to your book. Now, it's Women's Month, and women in leadership often face different expectations around how they communicate, respond to pressure, and express emotion. How does emotional fluency influence women's leadership journeys?
Do you know this emotion question? I would say, come on, we all feel it's a human thing. The feelings things, they are human, right? But I guess when people say women are emotional, maybe what they're saying is they express their emotions.
Emotional
And
intelligence comes in, yes.
right, I do think there has been too much focus on emotional intelligence without also appreciating that emotions are information, right?
Yes, but I think
The
I think, you know, if you look at it from a different perspective, women are always judged differently for expressing their emotions.
Yes, and look, sometimes rightly, sometimes wrongly. That's why I said the first step is regulate before you negotiate, right? So if you haven't done self-work or you haven't regulated in a situation and the stakes are high, then yes, you may end up responding, right? Instead of reacting. Because what you need to give yourself cognitive space between the trigger. So this is a high stressful situation. So you're gonna feel the emotions, right? But another thing that I advocate for is for women to be angry. And I'm going to clarify myself here. There is a big difference between expressions of anger and feeling and admitting anger. There is such intelligence in sitting with anger because it is information. Most of the time, in a pivot or push through moment, the people who move are the ones who really appreciate their anger. They welcome it, they ask it questions. Why are you here? And then you can move from a position of power. People talk about anger management. They don't say eradicate anger. It's learning how to harness the power, the intelligence of anger. So, if there is one emotional intelligence that maybe women need to be able to become A students at, is anger management, managing the intelligence of anger. I really think if we can do that, because anger is, it forces you to do something. You understand? If you say you're angry, but then you're not doing anything, then you're not angry. Maybe you're uncomfortable, you are frustrated, and you talked about emotional fluency. Fluency, meaning being able to not only name, but articulate with the right prose, with the right, emotion to it. So I am angry. That's emotional fluency. I'm angry. That's not emotional fluency because you have not harnessed the power of the emotion. Emotions are information and energy. And if you sit long enough with them and you ask them, why are you here? And you regulate, then you're going to make some powerful decisions. So, have I met women who have thrown their toys out of the cart? Yes. Have I been that woman who throws the gun? Yes. Do you know why I can really say that? They say a writer writes a book for themselves. So when you read my book, it's almost like I am airing out my dirty laundry because I
Wow,
cannot
you
speak
got to
from
read
a
the
place.
book.
I'm sorry?
You have to read the book.
You have to read Pivot to Push. I can only speak from a place, right? I've experienced. I can't talk about sitting with anger and drawing the intelligence if I've never done it myself. So they say when you learn, teach. After you teach, you coach. And after that, you write a book. Because that book is Nyasha P's in each and every person's hand. The ready student who I wrote the book for. The many, many Nyasha P's who are also wanting to be the Martin Luther King of business, the award-winning entrepreneurs. So yeah.
Is your book available on Amazon?
Yes, it is available on Amazon KDP. I guess when we put the video up, I will add the link. But if you are in South Africa, I've got physical copies. You can send me an email on Nyasha P at nyashap.com, or actually the book itself has a website. So one of the things that I have, other than just the fact that we need to write our stories, it's if you write a story, a book, make that book have a life that is outside of your life.
Yes.
Because, as I said, when you write the first book, you're writing to yourself, right? And there are many, many other people who are going to be inspired, who are asking themselves the same questions, who are finding themselves in a pivot or push through moment, and they do not know that do nothing is a perfect strategy in a pivot or push through moment. Not nothing for long, but nothing until you regulate. So write the book. But then once the book is out in the world, it becomes its own self. It becomes its own thing.
Yes.
So because I really believe in that, Pivot or Push Through is a baby that I birthed, but a baby that is now mothering me and it wants its own life. So if you go to pivotorpushthrough.com, there are some free resources available. So for example, how do you know whether you are in a pivot or push through moment? So the simple answer is go and do the diagnostic, but let's talk physiology, right? We talked emotional intelligence. Maybe let's talk body intelligence. If something sits down in your belly and it sits there and there, then there's no amount of pushing through that are going to align you to what you need to. But if something is still here, you've got high energy, you've got thoughts, you've got plans, you're exploring, then don't pivot yet. Explore, follow the energy.
Yes.
So yeah, go and do the diagnostic. It will allow you to say, are you in a pivot or push through moment? Because that's the moment where it is really important to follow those 3 steps. If it's in an everyday moment,
You've explained it quite clearly. So, the audience knows the explanation now, so they can get the book and it will all just fall into place and make sense.
awesome. Look, I always challenge anybody I talk to and say, where are the books that you are sitting with? We all have books. The only difference is some of us, we publish them. But I know you're already an award.
Yeah, you're sitting with an author that's published 10 books already. So actually, I'm the lead author for the world's first anthology series. So I've just launched volume 3 now in South Africa in July. And we just finalized the 30 authors for volume 4, which we're going to launch and release in December next year.
Okay, so looky here, I've just been humbled. 10 babies, my babies are coming. I'm pushing them out.
Awesome.
But I guess you can also then attest to this experience that you think you write the book for somebody else, but that book starts to ask you questions, becomes a mirror for yourself, and sometimes actually is a guiding principle when you are also experiencing that. So write books for yourself, and so that we can also share on platforms
Like
such
the
as
journal
the Red Corner Show.
reflections, that's what we want you to share with the world, because the world needs you. Everyone has their own trials and tribulations, and they've been through the perseverance, the resilience, and so forth. We want to hear those stories. So Nyasha P. with more than 15 years of experience in financial services and transformation, and now pursuing doctoral research at Warwick Business School. How has your own professional journey shaped the way you coach and advise leaders?
Oh, that's a difficult question. So most coaches would tell you, I use this model and I use that model. I am the model.
That I absolutely love that. Yes, you are
I
the model.
am the model because when I'm sitting there, I see myself in the leaders, their experiences, because I can connect with them because I've also, worked in business. As a coach, I have the tools and the frameworks, so that can also help. Now, as a doctoral researcher, I'm bringing and bridging these worlds. So there are certain things where people have not found the fluency, right? And academia and deep research helps a lot with giving you language, theories, frameworks, which you then can use. So people experience the full Nyasha P dot in a coaching session. I do not know which of the Nyasha P constellation or selves or faces is needed. So I always bring my full self. I am the model. And I sit there, I hold the space, and I will know at the right point which of my experiences or which of my lenses is going to serve my coaching client at the moment that they're at. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, you did. Absolutely.
Awesome. Awesome.
So we've come to the end, and your final question as an author, executive coach, and leadership strategist. What legacy do you hope to create through your work, your book, and the leaders you influence?
So I'm not about legacy. I want transcendent legacy. Legacy has got connections. You can 6 degrees of separation kind of thing. That's legacy. I don't want that. I want to be the Martin Luther King of business. And how am I trying to do that? The book is one of those ways I'm trying to do that. I'm hoping in 10, 15, 20 years, a rural girl in, I don't know, Kwamashu can be reading Pivotal Push Through and can see herself in the characters who are also Nyashas and know that in a pivot and a push through moment, you need to regulate before you negotiate. Transcendent legacy means you are not only pursuing something for yourself or for your children or your grandchildren, you have this deep sense of abundance that there is more that can be done. And the only way we can do it all is if we all become bigly and have transcendent legacy, run the comrades of business and life. And as I said, on a more serious note, when you are given the privilege of leading and you can feel the weight of that privilege, some say it's a burden, but it's a privilege. And the more privilege that you have, the more you have to really sit with yourself, clear on why am I here? Because your being Nyasha P dot is going to unlock Dr. Shamila's The Martin Luther Kings of business. So yeah, that's how I have attempted, but I haven't finished. I will continue writing more and more books. I'm coaching more and more leaders. And I coach, when I say I coach comrades, runners of business, people will be like, oh, you're so snobbish. I'm like, no. I coach a person who can sit across me, has never walked even 3 steps, and says, I want to run comrades. Those are my people because I know how to sit and I know how to journey with a person whose intentions are not legacy but transcendent legacy. They want to do a new thing, a thing, so that so yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. And when it comes to business, as I said, I show a lot of mercy because you can find some messy messies.
I love that
uh,
you mention Martin
and
Luther King so often because I actually went to the Martin Luther King Museum in Atlanta, Georgia. Such a meaningful vision, Nyasha P. Ultimately, leadership is not only about what we achieve ourselves, but through our books, what we write and what we share, it's also about the people we help grow along the way. And to the audience, I would suggest get the books, read it, learn from it. In closing, your last message.
My last message is we need you. We need you to show up as you. Because if you show up, you give permission for somebody else to show up. And I honestly, my intention today was to show up so that I can spark someone there or encourage someone there to also just show up as themselves and say when they walk into a room, I am Nyasha P. I speak for myself. I know myself and I am about transcendent legacy. That's what I want. I want all of us to do only the things that only we should do. Only we should do.
Absolutely love it. I think you've given our readers a lot to reflect on, particularly anyone who can be standing at their own crossroads. So your messages today reminds us that sometimes the bravest decision is to keep going and sometimes to change direction. Thank you for being a part of our Women's Month series. I wish you continued success with your book, your research, and the important work that you're doing. Keep on inspiring because you're doing a great job.
Oh, thank you. That warms my heart. It's not often that we hear something and we sit with it and we communicate right back to the person, because a compliment is a gift, right? It's a gift that keeps on giving. So I'm giving you back that compliment to say thank you for giving me the platform to spark somebody and something. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And to everyone watching, thank you for joining us on the Red Corner Show. Throughout Women's Month, we will continue celebrating visionary women like Nyasha P. whose stories remind us that determination, courage, and purpose can change lives. Please like, share, and subscribe to the Red Corner Show and join us again for another inspiring conversation coming soon. If you would like to be on the show, please drop me an email, redcornershow@gmail.com. Until next time, I am Dr. Shamila Ramjawan. Keep believing in yourself, keep empowering others, and continue making a positive difference in the world. Goodbye and God bless. Bye, Nyasha P.
Thank you very much, Doc. Cheers.
Yes.